Hello and welcome to Frank's School, 13th year, 11th day, first video, State of the School 2023. This is the 12th video in that series, I think, although I get mixed up with the numbers. Warm air furnace heating 101. I announced that in my last video. Well, I don't know if, that's probably proclaims more than I'm willing to come up with. For one thing, I skipped yesterday because I had trouble with that furnace right there. I had to go in and work on the grates, what happens with these? Well, I've got a bunch of cast iron things I want to show you. Maybe now's as good a time as any. What happens with grates is this: they break. This is not out of that furnace. This is out of a much bigger furnace. And this is the dump grate. It's in the center. And if you look here, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but you can see that this one is cracking. There's a crack in it. Now, cast iron like this is very strong, but it's very brittle, and it'll crack very easily. And what happened, what had happened was a piece of wood. The firewood we've got right now is too big for that furnace and too heavy. And a piece of wood like this, putting it in, it dropped and it hit the grate and it cracked it, and the one side fell into the ash pit. Now this is deceiving what I'm showing you, because this piece is actually split. If it had been split, it would have been better. But there was too much wood that we took. That was what the woodcutter calls pole wood. Hasn't been split. It fits in the furnace, but it's heavy. And as I say, it cracks. Now I've got a lot of pieces of cast iron here in front of me, but I'm not so sure I want to show them to you right now, because I think that might take a little longer than I want to take at the moment. But because of that, yesterday afternoon I was busy working on that. I had that furnace. It was still burning a little bit actually, but I was in there working on it. I had to take it apart. It was complicated. But let me see if I can go back to where I was. So I spoke about the cast iron grates. Let me stay here for a little bit. I repaired it, and it's working fine now. It can use further repair for sure. But I do want to say something about the difference between repairing something and replacing something. My wife and my son they're much more in favor of replacing it. Just get rid of it or whatever, put it outside. Let's get a new one. I don't think that way. And as a matter of fact, the very fact that I'm able to repair that is one of my major subjects I want to deal with. But I can't do that just in one video. The idea of just replacing something instead of repairing it goes with its anti-planned obsolescence. That planned obsolescence I hope you've heard about before. Manufacturers don't want their thing they make to be permanent and repairable, because they want you to buy another one. I mean, that's certainly, people know about that. Well, if you repair things, you're going against that tide. And I'll probably have more to say about that. Oh no, I said a little bit about it here. Whole Earth Catalog. Anyone remember that? The supplements? I mean, we're going clear back to around 1970. Anyone remember that? Well, I think it was in one of the supplements that it discussed that whole business of the repairman. When times get really rough, if the economy crashes, if things are really rough, an invaluable craftsman is the guy who can repair things. Not the guy, because you don't have the money to go out and just buy something and replace it. And then when you've got something that was not meant to be repaired, you've got a problem. I'll say more about that, I think, tomorrow, because I don't want this to be too long. All right, now what I mentioned that I know a lot about warm air furnace heating, and I do. One of the reasons I do is because I bought this book. $3 and something it cost me. It was copyright 1930, I think. And I can't say that I read every word of it, but I read a lot of it. And I read enough of it that tomorrow, I think, or soon, probably tomorrow, I'm going to revive my little spot there that I put the camera above it, and I can flip through some pages so I can show you some of the stuff that's in this amazing book. Let me at least just get a little closer to you so that you can see the book. But I won't open it now because I intend to do that tomorrow. All right, now cast iron versus steel. I wonder if I have time. Since I've got this stuff here, I think I will. Those are cast iron, and as I said, they're very brittle. But they don't bend. They don't, there's a better word for it. They don't change with heat. They stay their shape. Now, in order to fix that in there, this was I've kept cast iron for decades and decades, cast iron. This you probably wouldn't recognize. I can't imagine that you would. This is cast iron out of the harp in a piano. You know, people throw pianos away. Well, what do you do with it? The wood is one thing, you can burn it. But inside there's a cast iron harp. And I salvaged that and broke it apart. And I thought, now, I might be able to use that to span the place in the grate that was broken. I also thought, if I have to, maybe I can use this. Now, this is extremely weak. If you hit it with a hammer, it'll crack almost like glass. But it's cast iron. It won't warp with heat. And what this is the weight, a weight on one side of a double hung window. And this is called sash cord. It's what helped you raise and lower the sash. I've kept this stuff over the years. I even thought to myself, if I have to, maybe I'll go to this. Now, this is a section out of a radiator. I always want to say radiator because we say that's what we say here. It was for water, but it's cast, and it would hold its shape under heat. I'd have to cut it. Now, you can cut this stuff. It's hard with a side grinder, but I might do better to just break it. I have several of these. I've kept them. And even this, I don't even know what this is. It's out of a furnace for sure, but it's cast. There's no doubt about that. And I could use it to help to support the grates. One other thing I'll show you is that when I went to the scrapyard yesterday or the day before, and typically I found stuff to get. Here's a door to a warm air furnace, or always like to see what the casting looks like. That's a door, and you see that the pins are still there and quite usable. And here's another door, possibly out of the same furnace, I'm not sure. Now, see, doors, if you make them out of steel and they get hot, they're going to warp and they're not going to seal. So the doors, you want them to be cast. What the hinge goes into can be protected by fire brick. So that part you can do with steel or some other way. All right, maybe a little bit disordered, but, oh, I didn't show you this. This is cast iron, and I save it as well. Maybe you recognize it. It's a plow point, you know, for a plowshare. But the point is, it's cast iron, and I could use that to hold a fire on as well, because it would not bend or warp. I still can't find that right word with the heat. All right, so I covered cast versus steel, I think. I guess that'll do for today. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to be over there at we're going to look inside that book. Bye for now.